Do you ever feel like I've seen this movie before? Like humanity's on some kind of hellish merry-go-round with images of destruction and chaos flashing before our eyes over and over and over again as history repeats itself. That's how I feel watching an authoritarian Russia invade a sovereign and democratic Ukraine unprovoked and unprompted. I mean, this certainly feels like it's got whiffs from the past. Listen to this quote from Winston Churchill. Each one hopes that if he feeds the crocodile enough, the crocodile will eat him last. All of them hope that the storm will pass before their turn comes to be devoured. But I fear greatly that the storm will not pass. It will rage and it will roar ever more loudly, ever more widely. That was January 20th, 1940. To understand what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, we can look at the Budapest memorandum. This was a 6-point document signed by Russia, the US, and the United Kingdom. France and China also signed similar treaties outside of the Budapest memorandum. But this was essentially an exchange. You give up your nukes, and we'll protect you should anyone threaten you. Here's what it said. Point 1. Respect Belarusian, Kazakh, and Ukrainian independence and sovereignty in the existing borders. 2. Refrain from the threat or use of force against Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. Refrain from using economic pressure on Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine to influence their politics. Seek immediate Security Council action to provide assistance to Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine if they should become a victim of an act of aggression or an object of a threat of aggression in which nuclear weapons are used. Refrain from the use of nuclear arms against Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. Consult with one another if questions arise regarding those commitments. So how have we gotten to the point where the international community is writing strongly worded letters and offering toothless sanctions against Russia when they so clearly violated the spirit of this agreement and continue to do so? And there were steps leading up to this, but in 2014, the annexation of Crimea truly acted as a giant middle finger to all those party to and who bore witness to the Budapest memorandum when Russia invaded parts of Ukraine. And asked about that, Vladimir Putin said this: a new state arises, but with this state, and in respect to this state, we've not signed any obligatory documents. And, sanctions were levied against Russia, but Putin himself has said that that's not going to hold them back. So we're placating. We're getting comfortable with the idea of Russia crossing that red line, clearly defying the commitment that they made in the memorandum. And then they doubled down on that. In February 2016, Sergei Lavrov said, Russia never violated Budapest memorandum. It contained only one obligation, not to attack Ukraine with nukes. We can see over time Russia inching closer and closer to this war, and we can see over time the erosion of the will on the part of the international community to hold firm to that line in the sand, to the commitments that were made, to oaths that were sworn. And it's appeasement that erodes that will to fight, that will to stand up for what is right. And it's the perfect analogy for our relationship to sin. We make appeasement a part of our everyday life. We grow comfortable with sin in and around our world. The first time sin is used as a noun is Genesis 4. Cain and Able. Genesis 4:7 says this: if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. That picture of sin crouching at the door, the way that the Russians were crouching at the borders of Ukraine, is such an interesting image to me. Sin crouching at the door. This is a story that's been told for eons, and it continues to cycle in our world. Take a stand for the holiness and righteousness that God calls us to, and plant that flag firmly so that people see light and salt and love, something different. Lord knows we need it because we don't have a lot of people fighting for what's right today. Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it.